Let's together say amen.
Amen.
Whether you recognize it or not, we serve an awesome God.
Yeah.
God looked down on us and He allowed us to once again be on the time side of life.
That's correct.
And while many times we wake up and we have problems to deal with, we recognize that we have a God who is able and a God who loves His children. And so when we come together, no matter what it is we're dealing with, we ought to have some joy in our hearts.
Amen. That's
because
true.
we know just how good God has been.
That's true.
I can tell you in driving around in your fair city that I have come closer to God because of the way that some of you drive. Yes, you got to be a praying man to drive. I am appreciative of your fine minister, Brother Ellis Lewis Jr., and the way that he represents this congregation. And when I had the chance to meet him, I had known Brother Ellis Lewis Sr. and had seen him at the West Texas lectureship, but having a chance to meet Brother Ellis Lewis Jr. and seeing the way that he carried himself, when the invitation came to come and be with the family here at La Puente, I could not say no. And so I'm sincerely appreciative of the fellowship and the love and to see the work that is going on here. I love to see the way the brothers and the sisters in this congregation work together, and you know that things like this don't happen by circumstance. And so once again, I'm grateful to God to have the opportunity to be with you. My wife and I have fallen in love with La Puente, and it's not because of the weather, it's because of the people. God bless you. God bless you. But now let's get to the preaching of God's word. I once again want to make sure and point out that God has blessed me with a wonderful woman who stands by my side in the person of Sonia Jones. She is a sweetheart to me, but more importantly, she is a child of God. And so I'm grateful to her. If you will, be turning in your Bibles. Now, we've been taking our lessons from Ephesians. The chapter is 3. And what we've been talking about is God's plan. And I think that I've done a fairly decent job of establishing the fact that God has a plan for mankind, and that the plan did not come by circumstance or things just happened to fall into place. That God knew what He was doing. And piece by piece, things are coming and acting according to the plan. But now, one of the things that we have to recognize is that there's different components to the plan. And one of the things that the Apostle Paul, in talking to the Ephesian church, mentions multiple times is grace. He mentions grace. And so in Ephesians chapter 1 and verse number 2, he says, "Grace be unto you and peace from God our Father." In Ephesians chapter 2 and verse number 7, he says, "In the ages that come, He might show the exceeding riches of His grace." In Ephesians chapter 2 and verse number 8, "For by grace are ye saved through faith." Ephesians chapter 3 and verse number 1, "For this cause I, Paul, the prisoner of Jesus Christ, for you Gentiles, if ye have heard of the dispensation of the grace of God." So grace, grace, grace. We know that grace is unmerited favor. We can't earn it. It's something that God has given to us. But there is a problem in this world. And the problem is that some folks have perverted grace by saying that since God's grace is unconditional and God gives us what we do not deserve, that I can live as I please and I can do what I want to do. And so recognizing that, what I want to share with you and what I hope to impart to you this evening is that while God does give us grace and God does give us liberty, that does not give us the right to bring anything into His house that we want to. We still have to live according to God's will. If you will, turn to Galatians chapter 5. Galatians chapter 5, and I appreciate the brother who read the scripture into your hearing so eloquently. Galatians chapter 5, and beginning with verse number 13, the text here reads, "For brethren, ye have been called unto what? Unto liberty, only use not liberty for any occasion to the flesh, but by love do what? Serve one another. For all of the law is fulfilled in one word, even in this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself." Then he says in verse number 15, "But if ye bite and devour one another, take heed that ye be not consumed one of another. Grace leads to freedom. Freedom is liberty. When you hear the word liberty, a lot of folks think of the Statue of Liberty. You see, on Ellis Island, that 27.5 acre piece of land in upper New York, that piece of land where there's a statue that holds up a torch, and it's a light supposedly to all those in the world who are seeking freedom. See, many of us know about the Statue of Liberty, but what we don't know is that that statue is actually a statue of the Roman goddess Liberta. And that Roman goddess is supposed to be the symbol of freedom. That statue was given to us by France, recognizing the Declaration of Independence. And when you look at liberty, it's a noun, it's a person, place, or thing. I want to maintain this morning that the person that represents liberty is not some statue standing on Ellis Island. The person that represents liberty is Jesus Christ. I want to maintain that the place that represents liberty is not Ellis Island. The place that represents liberty is the church. And I want you to understand that the gift of liberty did not come in the form of a statue from France. It came as a gift from God. And if you can understand that, then understand that God gives us things, but with that gift comes some responsibility. And in this text, when we're given liberty and when we're given grace and when we're allowed to break away from all of those laws, see, recognize something. For those who want to go back and live under the Old Testament, there are some 613 laws, rules, and regulations that you had to live by. Now, I don't know about some of y'all, but just the basic things of Christianity, sometimes I slip and let some of those things fall even under grace. Do you follow me? But some 613 things, and I recognize this as well. If you were a Gentile, not only did you have to then convert and live, if you converted to Judaism, you had to live under those 613 principles, but there was one, I don't know about y'all, brother, but it would have given me as a grown man a big problem. You see, I will go to the barber shop and I will let somebody cut my hair. I will go and have my fingernails cut, but there are just some things as a grown man that I just am not willing. Do y'all understand? So I'm glad that I live under grace, and the circumcision that is done now is a circumcision of the heart. I'm going to get that in a minute. But now, when we're dealing with grace, understand that Moses' law was burdensome enough by itself. 613 rules and regulations, and on top of that, the Sanhedrin and all of those religious leaders were adding ceremonies and things that did not come from God. They came from their own minds. And so when you talk about God giving grace, understand that the freedom that came, that the liberty that came was a liberty from all of the rules and regulations, and those rules and regulations and those heavy burdens wore the people down until they recognized that they could not live a perfect life and that they needed a Savior. But now that we have a Savior, thank God that we've got some grace, and thank God that we've got some liberty. But now, watch this. The cause for celebration is that we have freedom. We're free from multiple things, but we're free from sin. You see, we formerly used to be slaves to sin. Am I right about that? And just like God freed Israel from captivity in Egypt, Christ has freed us from captivity to sin. And so we're free from sin, but we're also free from the hypocritical, do as I say and not as I do type of spiritual leadership. You see, I love your preacher because I have heard him speak, and in listening to y'all, I believe that he does not just say, but he does as he says. Do y'all follow me? You see, there's a whole lot of folks in this world that say one thing and do another. If I'm going to preach on having one wife, I better have one. If I'm going to preach on raising children in the nurture and admonition of the Lord, I better raise my children up. Am I right about that? So I need to be the type of individual that practices what I preach. But when you go back and look at the Old Testament, Jesus pointed out time after time that some of those religious leaders were more worried about the outside than they were on the inside. He said that some of them, they washed the outside and the outside looked good, but inside they were just like dead man's tombs. And so when we deal with the New Testament and we deal with God's grace and we deal with liberty, I want you to understand, brothers and sisters, that we've got to not be concerned about the outside. We've got to be concerned about the inside. If you look good on the outside, but you do not repent and change what's on the inside, you will be in danger of taking God's grace for granted, and you will not be the type of individual that God has created you to be. If you're blessed to be one of the individuals that is known as a U.S. citizen, and you came from another country, I ask you to do this. Don't come from Germany bringing your German ways and trying to change La Puente. I went, my wife and I, to an island in the Caribbean, and it was one of the most stressful weeks of my life because the people drive on the left-hand side of the road. And we rented a car for that week, and halfway during that week, Brother Lewis, I turned that car back in because I just couldn't take anymore. So if someone comes from the Bahamas and comes to California, I would ask that you not bring your left side of the road driving ways and try to change what we do. Y'all gonna get this in a minute. You see, while there is liberty in the church, and while we do not have all the 613 principles, when you come from the world, or when you come from a denomination, or when you come from wherever it is that God has blessed you to come from to have knowledge of the truth, don't take what you have there and try to bring it in here. If you had jazz club and instruments and pianos over there, then leave it over there and come over here. Am I right about that?
That's right.
You see, one of the problems that we have, and I'm 46 years old, I've been preaching for 25 years, and I think I'm grown enough, at least I pray I am. I had one brother when I was teaching Bible class, I was teaching adult Bible class, and I was barely 30 years old. And he said to me afterwards, he said, I don't listen to a man in his 30s. I don't listen to a man till he gets 40. And I said, well, both Jesus and John the Baptist died at 33, so you better be careful saying stuff like that, right? But now, I've been preaching long enough to be able to say this, and that is, there are folks in the church who are taking God's grace and they're taking his liberty and they're trying to bring things from the world into the church. And it is not to please God, it is trying to please man. And the church is not in the people pleasing business. We are here to please God, and if we please God, we will serve man, and all nations will come unto the church, but it will not be because we're trying to cater to them. It'll be because of one word, and that word is love.
Amen.
So we understand that grace is unmerited favor, but Ephesians chapter 2 and verse number 8, it tells us, for by grace are ye saved through faith, that is not of yourselves, it is the gift of God. When you receive a gift, the gift ought to be used properly. Am I right about that? My son, he's got a birthday coming up, and he's been talking about the gift that he wants. And if I happen to go and buy him a gift, I want to see him use it in the proper way. And so when God gave us the gift of grace, and he gave us liberty, and he gave us freedom from all of the Old Testament laws, don't you understand, brothers and sisters, that it does not mean that you can do anything you want.
Amen.
Because God has a word for folks who feel like they can do anything that they want. And that word is not saint. That word is reprobate. For even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God turned them over to what? A reprobate mind. Now the question is, what is a reprobate? Well, and understand what a reprobate is, look at the root word, probate. I got a law enforcement officer right here, and if I say to him, I'm on probation, which I'm not, don't y'all go spreading no rumors that they had a preacher at La Puente on probation. I'm not, but I'm trying to help you understand. Probation means that I've got to check in with somebody, and I've got to tell them I'm looking for a job, and this is where I live, and this is my phone number. In other words, I've got to check in with somebody who has authority over me. Am I right about that? If you do not have a will and you leave an estate, it's going to go to probate court, and a judge is going to tell your family what it is that they're going to receive. So if I am a reprobate, that means that I do not believe that I have to give an account for the things that I do, and whatever looks good, feels good, and tastes good, that's what I do. That's a reprobate. Now we think that reprobates only exist in the world, but Lord have mercy, if they're not creeping into the church, then I'm not 46 years old. And what we've got to do, brothers and sisters, is recognize that while God's grace is unmerited favor, we cannot treat his grace like gravy. When I say that folks treat grace like gravy, see, I believe, now this is, I don't have a book for this is my own theory, so work with me. I believe that gravy was invented for two reasons. First reason is I believe that the person who was in the kitchen cooking burnt the meat. And then once they recognized that the meat was burnt, took a little flour, took a little water, made some gravy, and covered up what was on the plate. Recognize, brothers and sisters, I tell my folks at home that you should keep your eyes on Jesus and keep your eyes off of one another. Do you know why? Because there's some burnt meat folks in the church. There's some tough folks in the church who have not been tenderized by God's word. They should have been marinating in God's word. They should have been tenderized, but since they're not as tender as they should be, and the plate doesn't look right, they try to cover it all up with grace gravy. That's one thing. The next thing, I believe that gravy was invented because sometimes there's not enough meat in the pot. See, I appreciate this church for the hospitality. Y'all have put my wife up in a very nice room, and y'all have provided our meals. Y'all have treated us such a beautiful way, and we thank you. But when I was a child growing up in a preacher's house, when they came to West Highway 80 Church of Christ, they stayed at our house. And they ate whatever my grandmother cooked. Now some of the preachers ate, and some of them ate. And when she found out about the ones who ate, she would make gravy. And that gravy would make the meat stretch. You follow me? So those of you who've had biscuits and gravy know that there's very little sausage and a whole lot of gravy, but you can make a lot of meal with just a little sausage. Am I right about that? And so what would happen is that meat, even though the meat was running out, you still had some flavor and you still had some gravy. And what is happening with some Christians is that since they're not as meaty as they ought to be, they're not as meaty in the doctrine, they're not as meaty in their works, they're not as meaty as what God would give them capability to do, rather than stepping up and doing what God has given us the capability to do, they choose to remain inactive and try to cover it up with some grace. And so, brothers and sisters, God's grace can be taken for granted. Now, I just believe this. A person who knows that they should be doing more for God, but buries their head in the sand and hides behind grace, is in danger. If you will, brother, get James chapter 4. James chapter 4 and verse number 17. James 4:17. Someone asked me,
Therefore to him that knoweth to do good.
Therefore to him that knoweth to do good. Now let me stop right there. Someone asked me, they said, why do you preach? They say you got a good job. They said, why do you take all of your free time and dedicate that to the church? We see you dragging. We see you burning the candle at both ends. Why are you doing that? James chapter 4 and verse number 17. To him or her that knoweth to do what? Good. To do good. And doeth it not. And doeth it not. See, we categorize sin as the things that we do. I lied, I cheated, I stole, I did this, therefore it is sin. But James lets us know that if I know that there's something God has given me the strength and the ability to do, and I don't do that thing, and I bury my head in the sand, to me, it is what? It is sin. If I don't do what God has given me the ability to do, to me it is sin. And so, brothers and sisters, as we begin to revive ourselves, I want you to understand that God does not make mistakes, and each and every one of us still has breath in our bodies and blood running warm through our veins, because God has a purpose in mind for us. And your purpose may not be in the pulpit preaching. Your purpose may be preaching some of the best sermons ever preached by living it every day. Your best work may be something that never gets notoriety. It may be a quiet phone call that is made to an elder member of the church. It may be a phone call to someone who's in jail. It may be an encouragement. But God has given each and every one of us something that we can do. And so I want to encourage you, brothers and sisters, don't hide under grace. See, some folks, I made varsity when I was a sophomore. I'm not popping my collar. I'm just telling you the truth. Is that all right? 3-year letter. Yeah. 3-year letter. But now I was a little bit egotistical. And there were some seniors that were on the team. And when I came off with my uniform all dirty, I would look and I would make note of the fact that they didn't have a mark on their uniform. Helmet just as shiny as it was at the beginning of the season. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Pants still white, because they did not get in the game. Now, your preacher said this. He said, you're going to have to get dirty. Not only are you going to have to get dirty, you're going to have to get down and dirty. Do you know what that means, brothers and sisters? That means that in the church, we cannot afford to be up on a high horse. We've got to come down and we've got to condescend to men of low estate. Now, when I say condescend, you think I'm talking about lording and being obnoxious and condescending to you. That's not what the scripture is talking about. What it means is this. See, I've got 3 children, and 2 of them have learned to tie their shoes perfectly, and the 3rd is getting it right most of the time. But in order to teach them how to tie their shoes, I couldn't stand up above them and instruct them how to tie their shoes from a distance. What I had to do was I had to bend my back and get down on my knees and teach my children how to tie their shoes at their level. And in the church, what we've got to do, brothers and sisters, is when someone walks through the door, they may have been hurt, they may have been on drugs, they may have been living a lifestyle that is not conducive with some of the things that we are used to. But when they come in, we've got to remember, if not for the grace of God, it could be us, it could be my wife, it could be my child. And so I've got to come down off of my high horse, and I've got to condescend, and I've got to be at the same level of the person who just came in the door. And when we do that, brothers and sisters, that is a demonstration of love. And love is really what this thing is all about. Why do I say that? Well, because in Galatians chapter 5 and verse number 14, the text tells us something. It says, for all of the law is fulfilled in one word. Even in this, thou shalt do what? Love thy neighbor as what? As thyself. In John, the chapter is 13 and the verse is number 34. Jesus said this. He says, a new commandment I give unto you, that ye do what? That ye love one another as I have loved you, that ye also do what? That ye love one another. Everyone knows how to say it. I love you. Sounds good, don't it? Yeah. Try to say it to my wife all the time. I love you. Cantonese say Nagoane. Cherokee Indians say Kikayu. French Creole say Miamiju. Egyptians say Anababavik. The French say Jateyame. Swahili, they say Mimi Nakapunda. If I were to come to you and you didn't know, and I said Mimi Nakapunda, you would probably say to me, well, you won too. And your mama. But what I'm really saying to you, in a language you don't understand, is I love you. Mimi Nakapunda. Now here's the point. I don't know it when I hear it, but I know it when I see it. And Jesus said this, by this shall all men know that ye are my disciples, if ye do what? Love one another. It's not going to be the fact that we don't have instruments. While that is scriptural, that's not the sign. It's not going to be the fact that I can quote scripture better than someone else. It's not going to be the fact that my building looks nice or we have this many members. Jesus said the way that folks will know that you are the church is when you have love one towards another. And so the universal language that the church ought to speak is love. And when you deal with freedom, see, all of the rules and regulations, there's a reason that Jesus said, a new commandment I give you is to love one another. The reason you don't have to have some 613 rules, regulations, precepts, and principles is because if I teach you how to love, I don't have to tell you not to covet. If I teach you how to love, I don't have to tell you thou shalt not kill. If I teach you how to love, I don't have to tell you that you need to give as you prosper. These things will come naturally as a reflection of your love. And so what we need to work on, brothers and sisters, is our love. See, if you're worried about what's going on in the life of somebody else in the pew sitting next to you, wonder what's wrong with her, wonder what's going on juicy at the church, that's not love. If you're wondering how much longer I'm going to be speaking and how long I've been speaking thus far, that's not love. And so, brothers and sisters, love is what God commands of us. And while we have some freedom, recognize that freedom is not replaced with emptiness. It is replaced by love. See, someone says, preacher, you're contradicting yourself. You said on the one hand that the rules are gone, but you say there's still a rule. Well, my grandmother, God bless her soul, whenever we would leave the house, see, there are some mothers that when they leave the house, they have this long list of things for the children. Don't do this, don't touch that, don't ask for this, don't cut up, don't hit your sister, don't hit your brother. Long list of things not to do. My grandmother, when we left, she would say one thing. She would say, behave. And everything was wrapped up in that one word, behave. And so when the scripture tells us to love, everything is wrapped up, brothers and sisters, in love. So while we have some freedom, we are not free from the basic principle that God has always had towards mankind, which is love. We still have to love one another, and love covers everything. Not only does it hide a multitude of sin, it holds families together, it holds churches together, and it'll get us back to heaven. Is that all right?
That's all right.
And so when you talk about freedom, see, we've got to understand sometimes liberty, sometimes freedom will get you into trouble. See, it wasn't that long ago that my oldest son got his driver's license, and in getting his driver's license, he was bugging me to death about getting his car. We took him car shopping, and he was on the dealership, and he was walking over towards the brand new Camaros, and I was grabbing his arm and pulling him back towards the old Fords. Y'all follow me? See, he had one thing in his mind, and I had something else, and I told him, if you want a dream car, you better get yourself a dream job. But until then, you're going to have to deal with what it is that I'm providing you. So when I provided him with the car, with that car, he had some freedom. That freedom allowed him to go anywhere that he wanted to drive. That was a new freedom. But there still were some rules and regulations. You need to be respectful to your mother. You need to change the oil. You need to change the tires and rotate the tires and do these things. And if you don't follow the rules, and don't think because you have a car, you're going to come into my house anytime you want to. See, there's some rules that still come with your freedom. Am I right about that? And then what I told him is this. I said, if you don't follow the rules, you're going to find out that your father Father can be very much like the Lord. The Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Am I right about that? And so in dealing with the freedom, we have to understand, brothers and sisters, that while we have it, it still has some rules and regulations. If you want a long list, you're not going to find it. The one word that you need to focus on is love. See, we've got grace, but it comes with a price.
Yes, sir.
And that price was paid by Jesus Christ. And that price was paid in love. Yeah, some folks, they want to bring in things. Yeah, I don't know. I got some country folks in my family. Y'all sitting up here laughing at me. Y'all got some country folk too. I done found out about folks from California. Ain't nobody been in California more than one generation. Everybody said, where you from? Oh, well, I'm from California. Where your mama from? Alabama. I done met more people from Houston and from other places. Got kinfolk here and kinfolk there. I thought I left some of the folks in Houston. I come out, the cousin is sitting in the audience and the uncle sitting in the audience. So y'all may act like y'all are all West Coast if you want to, but I know there's some folks out here know about greens and cornbread. Am I right about that? And I got some country folks in my family that eat some things. I'm not a vegetarian, but I don't eat meat. Can I explain that to you? If I go to a restaurant and I say, what is this in this dish? And they say it's meat. I don't eat meat. I eat beef. I eat chicken. I eat some pork sometimes. But I don't eat unidentified meat because I ain't been hungry enough to dip into nobody's squirrel. I ain't been hungry enough to dip into somebody's possum. All things of God are good, but I don't like to eat certain things. So I don't like to eat no raccoon. I'll watch him on television, but I won't eat a raccoon. Now, the reason that I bring this up, I want you to turn to this scripture, Galatians chapter 5 and verse number 15. See, while we have freedom in Christ, see, the rules and regulations in the Old Testament prevented the Jews from eating certain meats. They couldn't eat certain animals that had certain types of hooves. They couldn't eat certain types of creatures that were considered unclean. But we understand from the conversion of Peter that all creatures of God are good, but there's something that we're not allowed to eat. Look at Galatians chapter 5 and verse number 15.
But if you bite,
he says, but if ye bite and do what? And devour what? One another. He says, take heed that what? That ye be not consumed one of another. In other words, those who eat one another will soon find themselves being served. See, the prohibition is I'm free to eat whatever it is I want to eat. While the Jews couldn't eat swine, I love pork chops. And I love certain things, and I eat all kinds of shrimp. But I've gone to some congregations where they eat things that ought not be eaten. Y'all ever had roast preacher? Huh? Y'all ever had sauteed elder? Y'all ever had stewed sister? Y'all ever had baked brother? See, there are certain things that ought not be on the menu. While we have freedom and while we have God's grace, we do not have the ability to tear one another down. While we have the ability to be free and show love, I do not have the ability to be a stumbling block in someone else's way. And so if I'm using love as the means to guide my principles and the means to guide my behavior, it will keep me from doing things that will cause harm to my brothers and sisters. And so, brothers and sisters, we have freedom and we have grace. And it's a part of God's plan. But I want you to understand this very quickly. If you think that you're free to do whatever it is that you want to do, you're sadly mistaken. I've come to an understanding, and that is the more I know and the more I learn, the more I realize I don't understand. When we move into a mindset of doing what we want to do, we begin to change God's plan, and we become a stumbling block to our brothers and sisters. If you don't believe me, I want to remind you that Jesus asked a question of his disciples. He was going to the coast of Caesarea Philippi. And if I remember the scripture correctly, he says this. He says, "Whom do men say that I, the Son of Man, am?" Am I right about that? And they went through the list of what some say. Some said he was John the Baptist, others Elijah, some said Jeremiah was one of the prophets. They had all these different names of who they thought he was. Am I right about that? But then Simon Peter answered him and said, "Thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God." Now watch this. Jesus then says to him, he says, "Simon Bar-Jonah, blessed art thou, for flesh and blood hath not revealed this unto thee, but my Father which is in heaven." And he says this, "Thou art Peter, and upon this rock, upon this truth, upon the fact that I am the Christ, I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it." Now Peter has just revealed that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of the living God. The scripture then says that Jesus began to then show how he must go. How he must go. If he must go, that means it must have been required of him by the Father. Am I right about that? He said he must go to Jerusalem and be killed and suffer many things. Am I right about that? Then the scripture says specifically that Peter took Jesus to the side and began to rebuke him. Now the question that I have, brothers and sisters, is why would Peter, who just said that he knew that Jesus was the Son of God, why would he feel big, bold, and bad enough to pull Jesus to the side and correct him? Was he an enemy of Jesus? I maintain that he considered himself among Jesus' friends. Was he someone that was a member of the Sanhedrin trying to trap him? I maintain that he had Jesus' best interests at heart according to how he understood. But the problem was he was worried about his understanding instead of God's will. His understanding was that the Messiah was going to come and be a military conqueror and reestablish the kingdom in a physical sense. And so when Jesus said he's going to die, he says, "Be it far from thee, Lord, this shall not happen unto you." Now watch this. In saying that, what he does is he takes his will and he puts it in front of God's will. And as I close, brothers and sisters, I want somebody to take a long look at this table. This table says what?
In remembrance of me.
Do in what? Remembrance of me. Now my question is, who said it? Jesus said it on the same night in which he was betrayed. 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Am I right about that? Jesus, 1 Corinthians chapter 11, beginning with verse number 13. He said this. He says, "Take heed, this is my body which is broken for you." And he says, I want you to observe the bread and observe the cup, and I want you to do this in what? In remembrance of me. Now, keep that in mind. Jesus said it. Some folks have taken God's grace. And it's interesting because the scripture, Acts 20:7, says upon the first day of the week, the disciples came together to do what? Break bread. What was the purpose of breaking bread? Jesus said, "Do this in remembrance of me."
Yes, sir.
Y'all with me so far, right? Now watch this. If I take God's grace and I think it gives me the liberty to do what it is I want to do. See, it's interesting. I pointed out that part of God's plan, if you were here on Sunday, is that Christ is the husbandman and the church is his bride, and the church is supposed to produce children for Jesus. Am I right about that? But y'all know a man by the name of David, don't you? And you know that David was up on the rooftop and he saw Bathsheba bathing, and he brought her into his home and he laid with her, and she had a child, and then David had to cover it up. So when Uriah came home and Uriah didn't sleep with his wife, he sent him out to the battlefield to die. Y'all remember that, right?
Oh, yeah.
So watch this now. If I'm going to take somebody's bride, see, are you married, young man? You are married. All right. You have a wife. Your wife. What is her name? Liz. Say, Liz is my wife.
Liz is my wife.
Do you understand the importance of the word my?
Yes.
All right. You're going to get this. This is my wife.
All right.
Now, I know the scripture says salute one another with a holy kiss. But I've been around the church long enough to know that some brothers don't kiss holy. And so that this is my wife, understand that there is life and death that hangs on the balance in the word my. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Because you have a wife. So now if you want to get to the bride, I can very manly say, you're going to have to come through me. And when someone is trying to use grace to do things in the way that they want to do it, what they will do is they will try to get around the husbandman and get to the bride. And while the husband said, do this in the remembrance of me, there are some who have taken communion out of church altogether. But the interesting thing is that the same Bible that said on the first day of the week, observe the Lord's Supper, also said on the first day of the week, take up the offering. Now they're not going to let go of that money, but they'll push Christ to the side. So we've got to be careful with grace, because if we're not careful with grace, what will happen is we'll take our way and replace it and substitute it for God's way, and God will not be pleased. So brothers and sisters, grace is part of the plan. And I would ask you to do this. If you have any question about what it is that you are or are not supposed to do, you've got strong leadership here. Talk with your preacher. Talk with your elders. And if there's any doubt after talking with them, continue to search the scripture. And if you can't find your answer in the scripture, fall back on love. And if you make your decisions based on love, everything that you do will turn out
Amen.
all right.
Amen.
Is that all right, church?
All right.
Now, I love you enough to tell you the truth. And so for those of you who may have been wavering in your dedication to Christ, some of you may not have been to church in a while and you're coming back for the first time, I want to tell you, one brother said, I watch too many movies. Well, yeah, I do watch TVs and movies, and I use them in my analogies. Is that all right? But there used to be a show called The Rifleman. Y'all remember that with Chuck Connors? Used to watch Saturday morning westerns. In my house with my grandparents, as I'm getting ready to close, we only watched two things on Saturday. It used to kill me. They were sometimes watching baseball, or they were watching westerns. It ain't nothing wrong with it unless you're 12 and want to watch Thundercats. But yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Lionel, yeah, and Panthro, yeah, I got a brother with me. But now, my grandparents, they would watch those westerns, and I learned something from those westerns. There was one episode, he had a son. And the rifleman went out. There were some bad guys that he was going to deal with. And he said, son, I want you to stay inside the house. I'm going to go out and deal with these bad guys. And the little boy got nosy. And he walked outside and he got hurt. He had no business being outside, but he got hurt. And then when the rifleman had finished dealing with his enemies, he came back and he saw his son was hurt. And he said, son, he said, I had everything handled. Why didn't you just stay in the house so I could keep you safe? And the son was trying to explain, Daddy, I heard all the commotion and I just wanted to come outside and see. And I want y'all to understand that Jesus has us safe. Jesus has given us the protection. Jesus has given us the direction. All he wants us to do is stay inside the house. Now I remind you, there's going to be a lot of noise outside. There's going to be noise that's going to want to pull you out of the church. You're going to be curious. You're going to want to know what's going on. But I would beg you and plead with you to stay inside the house where God can keep you safe, because if they get you outside, all they want to do is kill you and separate you from your Father. And so I don't know what invitation song has been chosen, but as you get ready to sing that song, I want to invite you into the family of God. I want you to hear God's word, Romans 10:17. Faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. Believe, Hebrews 11:6. And I want you to understand something. When you say I believe, look at this. I was out there on the road, and I told you, y'all got some bad drivers. I know it's not anybody in here, but I can't. Now I saw them folks riding bicycles and all kinds of bad drivers weaving in and out every other road under construction. This place is something else. But if I'm standing out there in the road and you see a truck speeding down the road about to hit me, and you say, Greg, a truck is coming, I want you to get out of the way. If I say I believe you and I don't move, my faith has done nothing for me. And so if I say I believe, then I have to also have action to show that my belief is what I say. And so if you hear God's word and you believe God's word, you repent and turn from your wicked ways. I tell you, nay, except you repent, you shall all likewise perish. Luke 13:3-5. And then I've got to be willing to confess the sweet name of Jesus. Jesus said, if you confess me before men, I will confess you before the Father which is in heaven. But if you deny me before men, I'll deny you also before the Father which is in heaven. And last but not least, I've got to be baptized. The reason I've got to be baptized is because I told you only two ways into the family. You either have to be homoousion and come from God to begin with, or you have to be born into the family. And we have to be born again. The water is ready. If someone wishes to put the Christ on in baptism and become a member of the church, we invite you to come. And when you're added to the church, no man can take you out of God's hand.
Amen.
There's some places where folks vote on you. I don't want nobody voting on me. Sometimes folks can be your friends, and sometimes you can not even know and hurt them, and they can turn on you. So I want a God that will hold me in his hands and will love me and will have grace and will allow me to then be used to give grace and love to somebody else. God bless you and keep you as we stand to sing the invitation song.
Come from the lonesome